Right. All right. Welcome everyone. See a few folks trickling in. Excellent. Thank you. We just started a little bit early, so we're letting a few folks just trickle in so that we can begin hopefully prompt. So thank you for logging in. Excellent. I see again more folks. Thank you. For those that are just logging in, let's take a quick second. I'll just ask everyone, where are you logging in from? Feel free to put it on the chat window below and just share where you're logging in from and what's your temperature right now over where you're logging in from. Right, thank you. Jason's in the house. We've got, oh, Arizona, only 103 degrees today. Wow, only. Excellent, I'm telling you. Hopefully you've got a good air conditioner wherever you're at. Oh, there you go. 83 degrees in Penn State. NY in 74. Oh, wow. Okay, that's not bad. So there's some mild temperatures out there. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Kara. Thank you. So if you're, again, just joining us, we haven't quite started yet. We're giving another minute just to let everybody trickle in. And we are just seeing where everyone's logging in and putting in their temp. This is not their years, so just temperature. So from New Jersey, 80 degrees. Okay, right on, right on. Right. Well, I will tell you right now, our weather, for those that are just wondering what's going on in California, it's an 81 degrees here in California, Southern California. So we're around that same mild temperature reading gauge there. Excellent. All right. All right. Well, we're about to begin. So without further ado, I'm going to start by giving everybody a virtual tour of our community. But beforehand, for those that don't know me, my name is Reuben. I work for ViewSonic, North America education sector. So pleasure to meet with you all. Thank you so much for joining, logging in, for RSVPing, and for spending some time with us in this beautiful weather that we're having. All right, so I'm going to ask for our awesome moderator, Miss Haley Hunt, to share her screen in just a second, so that way I can navigate you to what our community platform is all about. So quick, short PSA, and then I'm excited to present to you our amazing guest presenter. All right, once again, for those that are logging in, I see a few folks logging in. I'm just going to give everybody a short ViewSonic Educator navigation. And if you'd like to share where you're logging in from, feel free to do that in the chat. All right, so first we're going to go to the ViewSonic Educator landing page. So if you don't mind, Haley, navigating us there. Excellent. All right, so for those that don't know, this is our actual platform. So where you go to get this information, we'll put the chat link in a second, but there's a reason for this, that we're doing this in the very beginning, because the activities that will take place later today will call for this next step that we're going to share with you all. So in essence, here on the landing page, you're going to be greeted with all sorts of options on the upper left. So you're going to start with your home. There's news and announcements. Start here. A lot of self-explanatory items, but one of the big things that I'd like to highlight is the lesson hub. So if you're a teacher, you're an educator, if you will, that wants to promote some kind of form of lessons, you have instructions there to start uploading and essentially share out what kind of great lessons you're doing at your classroom as you're thinking and preparing to going back to school. Or if you already have them, share it with our community, see if they can learn more from you, and at the same time learn more from others too. So this is a very good peer-to-peer space to start having those engaging conversations with. Now, as you know, we are in a webinar, and so there's various webinars, not just here in the US, North America, but we've got different regions like Latin America. We've got the United Kingdom, which covers a lot of Europe. Turkey, India, and Taiwan. So there's different forums, if you will. If you'd like to participate and join and connect with others, by all means, it's there for you. One big piece, so let's say if we highlight the USA and Canada forum, where you see the add post button, before adding a post, essentially, if you're new to our community, it will say join. So you want to click on that join before getting started, or else it won't allow you to participate. So this is all meant for you to utilize and navigate and discover your journey, what it is that you want to be a part of. So if you want to get notified, there's that little bell there, so that way you can turn on that notification feature. Excellent. Beautiful. Yeah, if you can get notified with new posts, or let's just say you want to turn it off, you have that, but these are all ways for you to get connected. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now there's one little thing I want to highlight here. So you see there is a banner right there under events, and it says engaging students with quick review games, which is what the presentation will be about today. So if you were to click on that banner, there will be an option right below. Scroll down a little bit further, where it says, what are your thoughts? So what I'm going to share and recommend for everybody is take a moment to actually do this step, and I'll put some links for everybody to click on, but you want to leave some feedback to essentially participate in what it is that we're about to do later down the road, which is essentially all those that participate will get a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. And then we're going to do a second chance to win, which will be a $25 Amazon gift card. So for those that participate in the actual comment, we need to hear from you all. Again, none of this is possible without your feedback. So things that you want to learn more, or what you enjoyed from the presentation today, we want to hear your thoughts. So please put it in there, nowhere else, right there. So I know it can be very, very fast and so much to explore, but we're just asking to put it right there, so that way we can keep everything noted, and so that way we can see what your thoughts are. Okay. Thank you, Haley, for doing that. Awesome. So I don't want to delay any further. It looks like we've got quite a few folks just trickling in. So thank you again and welcome. So one other last piece of announcement is your chat option is great for comments. Now we have a Q&A option. Please put all your questions there. We have a moderation team that will be happy to answer your questions in that order. And at the same time, we don't want to miss any questions, because there will be a lot that we're going to unpack. All right. That is it for announcements. I'm going to segue over to our amazing presenter, and who's no stranger to ViewSonic, quite honestly. So if you've missed Bridget Spackman's last webinar, she was just there with us last week, and we have a recording actually posted in our ViewSonic Educator community. So please give a round of applause emotes in the chat, please, and welcome Miss Bridget Spackman. Thank you, Bridget.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Reuben. Okay, guys, I am going to be presenting on engaging students with quick review games. Now, I am a huge fan of, well, maybe a fan is kind of a light word. I'm a bit of a hoarder when it comes to any form of a game, whether it's card games, dice games, board games. I absolutely love games. I love doing it at home with my boys. I have 2 kids and a husband, and I also love incorporating them inside of our classroom. So you're going to see here that I'm going to take you through and give you some really easy, practical ideas and 3 really simple games that you can embed into your classroom curriculum, no matter what content you teach or what grade level you teach. I'm going to give you some different ways to just vary how you present these games to your students. So let's go ahead and get started. And what better way to start an engaging students with quick review games than by playing a game ourselves? So I want to make sure that you guys are involved in the webinar chat. I want to see your chat pieces in there as we go through this, because the more that you participate, the more fun you're going to end up having with it. Okay. So to kick us off, we are going to play a little Would You Rather. Okay. So for this first one, tell me, would you rather play Monopoly or Clue? Put it into the chat. Which one would you rather do? Jason, yes. Stephanie, I'm sorry. I am all Clue all the way, guys. Okay, we've got more Monopoly people. Okay, awesome. Here's the next one. Would you rather play Scrabble or Wordle? What is your preference? Scrabble or Wordle? Okay, I feel like it's a little, it's like half and half here. I'm showing my age. Scrabble. Oh my gosh, Stephanie, you are too funny. I do love a good game of Scrabble. You cannot beat it. Would you rather play Uno or Solitaire? Uno or Solitaire? Okay, I would probably go Uno on this one just because my boys love it so much, but I would love to get them to play Solitaire just so that they don't hound me tons from it. All right, so here's the thing. Games engage our students. And if you are sitting here in this webinar, hopefully after participating in that quick would you rather, you're already engaged. You're into the presentation, you're excited about what you're going to learn, and you're probably smiling, right? You're thinking, oh man, I like this game or that game. And that's what we really want to embody into our classrooms. We want to engage our learners, especially when that content might seem really dry or really boring or more challenging, that if you were to kind of put it into a game, make it a collaborative experience and make it super fun for your students. It's something that they're going to remember and hold on to and be able to hopefully retain those skills in the long run. That's our big goal. So I'm going to share with you, as I mentioned earlier, I have 3 very simple games that I'm going to model for you, show you how to build these inside of your classroom for the My Viewboard Whiteboard. And that way you can take this back and start easily implementing it at the very beginning of the year. But first, you're probably wondering, who in the world is this person? So hello, everyone. My name is Bridget Spackman. I am going on 12 years in education. I will tell you, teaching was not my first choice. I did not want to be a teacher when I grew up, unlike I feel like most people end up saying. I had everything under the stars that I wanted to be: an astronaut, an FBI agent, thanks to various TV shows that I was watching as a kid. And then I went into business for a while. I was a culinary manager. So I was a jack of all trades, as you might know. And so I was very late in the game when it came to my journey into education. And it's kind of crazy that the person who I am now is very different from who I was as a young child, because I never thought in a million years that I would also write a book. So I have authored a book. It's called Building the Literacy Block, and it's all about establishing the foundations for a really authentic and engaging literacy block in upper elementary. So check that out if you want to check that out. So I told you I taught for going on 12 years. I taught 4 years as a kindergarten teacher in Birmingham, Alabama. And then I moved to Central Pennsylvania, where I started teaching 4th grade. I taught multi-age for about 6 years. So that was 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. They were all, it's like a one-room schoolhouse type situation, but it was fantastic. One of my best experiences ever in my life. And then recently, I have just moved into a staff developer position where I help to support 25 school districts within 3 counties in Central Pennsylvania, along with private schools and charter schools. So very excited about this new journey, but it is a very different one. And I'm sad that I don't get to create a classroom this year. I don't have that this year, which is very sad. I have 2 boys. So Ian is my first child. You can see him right there in the middle. That's my mom off to the left. And then I have a little wild child who is Blaine. He is 9 years old. Ian is 16, and they are just my heart and soul for everything. And then, of course, just a little bit about me. I really enjoy spending time on a river that we have very close to us. So we will kayak, we will boat, we will just kind of hang out. I would love to spend all my days there just reading a really good book. Okay, so enough about me. As Reuben had mentioned, if you're just starting to come into the webinar, we have a questions and a comment section. So down in the Zoom bar at the very bottom, you're going to have an area where it says chat. This is where you can participate in some of the games that we're going to be doing here. You can leave comments, you can share your thoughts on anything, because the more that you're able to share with one another, and what's nice is that it's a virtual space, so nobody's going to judge you here. So you can kind of put whatever you want into the chat, but the more that you share the ideas and say, oh, I had this connection, or I really thought about this, throw it into the chat. We learn from one another, and we learn when we're hearing and seeing all of these different pieces. So please get involved in this process. And then if you have questions, you can throw it into the Q&A section. We have the wonderful team from ViewSonic who is here to support you and any questions that you might have. So please feel free to do that. And I would do ask that you silence your phones because, well, and if you're watching me on your phone, please don't silence me, but silence whatever you have around you. Get rid of some of those distractions, because I want to make this incredibly valuable for you. I'm going to take up about 40 to 45 minutes of your time. And I do value your time. And I promise you, you're going to leave here with something that you're going to immediately take back into your classroom. So that is the goal here. And of course, as Reuben had mentioned earlier at the very beginning, we do have a few kind of giveaway prizes for participating. So get involved in this, and we're going to be doing those later on at the very, very end. Okay. So let's talk about like our objectives for this game show that we're going to go through. You guys like my theme here? In this game show, we're going to talk about the purpose for incorporating some of these games into your instruction. Like, what is the why here behind incorporating the games? Because it's not just about engagement, which is where all of our brains always tend to go. It's so much more than just engagement. We're going to talk about determining those benefits for using those games. We're going to identify 3 games that you can start to embed into your lessons, because there are so many different options that are out there. I wanted to give you something new and different that you can go back and implement into your rooms. And then we're going to talk about the areas of instruction that you can use these games for inside of your instruction. So here's what I want to do really quick. We're going to put up a poll super fast, and we want to know what grade level you teach. So I'm going to grab a sip of my water. So poll number 1 in this is, what grade do you teach? Okay. Thank you so much to all of you who are participating in this. Are you ready to get started with our game show? Here we go. So this first thing that I want us to think about, and this is kind of our family feud questions that we're going to have here. I want you to think about, what are the characteristics of what makes a game a game? What are those characteristics of a game? And so there are going to be 4 options here. I want you to put them into the chat. Let me know, what are some of your ideas for what you think makes up a game? What are some of those characteristics? Because you're going to have point values. You can keep track of those point values as we go along to see how much you're able to kind of get out of it. So I'm going to be revealing what the survey says, essentially. So go ahead and let me know objectives, goals, rules, collaboration, strategy, fun. Aaron, I love where you're going with this. So, okay. So are you guys ready? So here's what the survey says. Now, there wasn't really a survey, but I just like the theme of it, right? The first one is that there's a winner, right? I think oftentimes we always think, listen, if it's a game, you have to have a winner. Somebody has to come out on top at this. So you can have a winner. Do all games have winners? I mean, yeah, in my opinion, I would say absolutely all games would have some form of a winner. You're also going to have some form of scoring. How are you going to keep track of who becomes that winner, right? So you have to have some form of a scoring, some kind of guidelines. It's funny because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. And one of the things that I've never quite understood about Harry Potter and the houses and how they get their points is, how do they know what points to give? I feel like it's just like, oh, you're going to get 42 points this one time, and then we're going to take away 5 points. You just never really know. So having very clear outline of, this is the point value and here's how you're going to get to it, I think can really help simmer a lot of the tempers that you're going to get into your classroom, because kids can get unbelievably competitive. You're also going to have some form of time limits, right? So you want to have a beginning and an end. Are you going to have an end goal? Do all of them have time limits? Not necessarily. You can give them as much time as possible, but let's just be honest, in our classrooms, we don't have all the time in the world. So setting those time limits very, very early on is really going to be beneficial. I have often used just my Apple Watch. I will put on a timer on my watch and I'll say, okay, 2 minutes. And I will just kind of set the timer for 2 minutes on my watch. That's been an easy alternative for me. I've loved utilizing YouTube, where you can just Google a ton of different timers on there. The Viewboard Whiteboard has a timer feature that's set into it, which is really nice and handy. And if you teach a kid to go ahead and like post it up for you, it's even better because you can have that kid be responsible for that whole situation. And then finally, I've had like a timer on my board, and I do like to kind of vary it up and change it up because I think the novelty of it always excites kids and it engages them. And then finally, somebody said, Stephanie, that was you, goal, objective. I feel like you copied this exactly. You did such a great job. I wish I had bigger point value for you. So you're going to have some form of a goal or objective by the end of that. That's what ends up giving you that scoring and also that winner component, right? So these are going to be what makes the characteristics of games in general. Now, this is not all of the characteristics, it's only some of the ones, but these are going to be kind of those beginning elements of when you're starting to format your games. These are the pieces that you really want to think about. Okay, so the next one, guys, get ready. Here we go. I'm giving you your next question. I want you to throw in some things in the chat. What are some of the benefits of including games into your classrooms? Okay, what are some of those benefits? So when you think about incorporating games into your classroom, what are going to be those benefits that it has for you or your students when it comes to your instruction? Okay, I'm seeing some things. Engagement, engaging learners, builds collaboration. It's fun, teamwork, soft skills. Oh my gosh, you guys should have made this presentation for me. So here are some things that we have, and the survey ends up saying, number one is engagement. I think that hands down is going to be the biggest piece, right? It is highly engaging for our students. It's always very interesting being in multi-age. I taught 4th, 5th, and 6th grade all combined into one. And you know, 6th graders, they're cool, right? They're at the top of their grade. They're about to move into middle school for at least us. And so they thought they were all that in a bag of chips. And so when it came to some of these games, you could see them always kind of say, I don't know, you know, I'm too cool for this. But let me tell y'all, every single time those kids got so into it, I felt like they were so incredibly highly engaged when it came to the objectives, the goals, just playing the game. They loved it. And that it still just kind of proves to you that they have that kid element inside of them still. And I'm sure that for those of you that kind of go into that middle school, high school realm, I mean, bless you. I don't know how you do it, but hopefully it also engages those students as well. And they don't think that they're too cool from it. The next thing I would say is that they can be quick, right? Games can be so nice and quick, especially when you have templates already made, which is what I'm going to be sharing with you. So what's nice about the games that I'm going to be sharing with you is that they're going to be so easy for you to be like, listen, hey guys, we got like 15 minutes before we have to switch classes. Let's go ahead and we're going to take out one of these games. We're going to play it really quick as a review. And so they can be very quick. They can be highly engaging, and that's going to allow you to be able to review a lot of these skills. Some people mentioned that it's collaborative, and I love, Richard, that you said it's healthy competition. So that is so true. It is healthy competition, which is very much necessary. And I know I saw Stephanie as well throwing in some of those soft skills, and those all kind of go along with this collaborative component. So you can give yourself those points if you want to give yourself those points. So it's always funny how I would watch Family Feud and it's like, but wait a second, that's not what they said, but it's kind of what they said. And so they would give them the points. You get the points. So it's going to be collaborative, right? We're teaching kids how to utilize those soft skills, how to be able to engage in some of that healthy competition. How do we go about agreeing and disagreeing with one another? How do we go about, making sure that we're all involved and building that kind of team environment? These are things that we're going to need for the rest of our lives, whether we like it or not. We have to be collaborative with our peers. Whether you like them or not, you have to learn how to work with them and collaborate with them. And so embedding that into your classroom as much as possible, and as hard as it might seem in the beginning, because you're going to be kind of pulling them apart, making sure they're not biting each other's heads off. In the beginning, that's what it's going to feel like. But the more and more and more you do it, the easier it's going to get. I'm going to tell you guys, so I had a really great group of kids, and there was, it was the year right after, pandemic, and we're kind of trying, well, it was like about 2 years after pandemic, and we were trying to get our way back into like the normalcy of everything. And so I was teaching multi-age, and these were the kids that I had in 4th grade, and now they were in 6th grade. And I remember giving them a collaborative assignment where they were able to work in their like groups, and they were kind of doing a mystery, trying to solve different things, because it was the first time I was able to do it in like 1.5 to 2 years. And as we were doing it, I had kids coming up to me crying, I can't work with this person. This is impossible. I need to be moved. I can't do it with this person. And these are 6th graders. And I looked at them and I said, listen, I understand you're frustrated at this point, but we have to learn how to work with one another. So we need to figure out some strategies. We got to take some breaks. Let's talk it out. Let's listen to one another, and let's find ways to where we can keep moving forward on the task that you're given to solve. So build it in, and that kind of whole situation basically proved to me that I needed to do it more and more and more, not just say, okay, this class can't do collaboration, so I'm just not going to teach it anymore. No, it is said, I need to do this as much as possible because these kids need to learn how to be collaborative, and that's a really important skill for them. Okay, I'm getting off that soapbox. The last one is not a best one. Again, maybe some of you should have done this for me. No worksheets. Listen, games are just nice because they take you away from that rote every single day, the mundane. And so it's not a worksheet. It's something that's going to be different. It's going to be that novelty piece, and that's going to really build into the engagement and all of those other components. Okay, last question. You ready? When would you use games? When would you use games inside of your classroom? When would you use them? Ellen says to review. Aaron says to review. When would you review? When would you use them? Okay, group time, interventions, enrichments. Those are fantastic. Fantastic. Formative assessment. That's a great one. Pre and post assessments. Ooh, guys, you have so many great ideas. I give all of you 1,000 points. So here's what we have. Survey says, review before test, I think is going to be one that I think we've all utilized. I mean, how many of us have done Jeopardy? Jeopardy has been one of like my favorite things to embed inside of my classroom right before a big test that we're going to have. It's nice because, again, it's highly engaging. It's going to allow them to review a bunch of different skills within a very short amount of time. And so that's why we like to do that right before that test. Between units. So maybe you are going between an addition or an addition unit and a multiplication unit. Between that unit, you might have like a day or two where it's something where you just need to do something a little bit different. This is a really, really nice time to be able to build that in. The next one is going to be just as a refresher. So maybe you're wanting to help build or get students to kind of pull out that background knowledge that they have about previous skills and start to get ready to embed it for that new unit. This is a great way to be able to do that. Again, it's very highly engaging, and it's going to excite your students, and it's going to be something where you can cram a bunch of different skills within a very short amount of time. And as a reward. So So you could do it as brain breaks. You could do it for interventions. Really, games are just a great way to be able to utilize it all throughout your instruction. And so the 4 here is just really not enough to say that these are going to be the only times we do it. And I think all of you came up with some really great ideas. And so if these were not ones that you had in your head, write them down, save it for later, so that way you can use it. Okay, so here's the thing. We have to think, like, how do we manage to create these games that are meaningful without spending so much time creating it? Because let's just be honest, we don't have the time. There is only so much time in the day, and you're planning a good 50 to 100 different things every single week. And so the goal here is that I want to be able to give you ways to very easily, quickly place this into your classrooms. And so by one of the ways that I do this is by using my Viewboard Whiteboard. And it's so interesting because right before I started collaborating with ViewSonic, my school purchased Viewboards to put into our classrooms. And so I was going from a projector to a Viewboard. And so having that Viewboard, I was so excited and thinking of all the different ways that I could really engage my students. But I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I got my Viewboard and then we didn't really get any training or support with it. And so I kind of fell into the cracks of, okay, well, it's just going to be a better board to present. So my hope here is that I don't want to throw a technology at you and then just say, go figure out what you want to do with it, because that's not what we need as teachers. What we need as teachers is we need people to show us the technology, but then also to see the practical and easy ways to engage our students with that technology. So my goal here is not necessarily to say, this is like all the really cool features. I'm going to be showing you all these really, really cool features in my Viewboard Whiteboard just by showing you how to make these games, so that way you can take it back and put it into your classroom. I want this to be something that you really get a lot from it. So when you're thinking about my Viewboard Whiteboard and just kind of this software, what it does is it really allows you to create engaging lessons. You're going to build really authentic learning experiences for your students. You're going to be able to engage them in these lessons, especially when the content is a little bit dry, because let's be honest, we all have that content in our grade level where it's a little bit dry. It's not as much fun or exciting. Something like this can really enhance the learning experiences for your students and be able to reach them on a totally different level. And then you're going to really build collaborative environment with your students by allowing them to explore with the materials in a very different way than just by you making it a presentation. We want to create this engaging experience where students are able to manipulate and to move things around and to build connections between things, because that's what a learning experience should be like. And so as Reuben had mentioned at the very beginning, the community for my Viewboard is a great place for you to be able to see what other teachers are doing inside of their classroom when it comes to my Viewboard. I know for myself, I was going back and I was scrolling through all these little videos and I was watching all of the different webinars, because I'm able to learn so much from other people. And then I'm able to kind of take that, tweak it a little bit and make it my own inside of my classroom. And so it's nice just having a platform where you can go specifically for my Viewboard and the whiteboard and software or hardware, whatever you might have inside of your classrooms. This is a great way. Okay, I'm going to do 2 things here. So, well, maybe 3, because I'm going to take a drink of water. But 2, we're going to put up a poll right now. And what I want to know are just what are the ViewSonic products that you are currently using? So what are some of those ViewSonic products that you're going to currently use? And if you have not already commented on that banner, you need to go there. You need to go to the community. You need to comment. Reuben just threw a link there for you, and just comment on that banner post. You're going to have a chance to win something, guys. It's totally worth it. I would love the feedback. Let me know what you're able to take away so far from this, or if as I start to share with you some of those games, you can kind of throw in some ways that you plan on using them inside of your classroom. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want us to, before I jump right into sharing the 3 different games, I want you to consider and really just keep an open mind, okay? Because I think sometimes when we're getting a ton of information thrown at us, it's very easy for us to be like, wait a second, that's not going to work for my kids. Nope, that doesn't look like it's going to work. I can't, what am I going to use this for? There's no way for me to be able to use this. So, I want to kind of show you and talk about what are some of those different areas in which we can consider using some of these games ahead of time, so that as I start to share the games, you already in the back of your mind are going to start saying, oh, I can use it for this and this and this, and start writing some of these ideas down. That way you can have a list to take it back immediately into your classrooms. So I'm going to share with you, I'm going to play a little game of Scrabble here for you. So I'm going to share with you a few areas in which you might want to build a game around. So the first one is going to be vocabulary. I think vocabulary is such a great way to be able to review with your students. And so embedding vocabulary games as much as possible. So whether you're doing, tier 2 words as a English language arts teacher, or maybe you're really looking at that content vocabulary, and you're wanting to review, the different parts of the cell, or all of these other like more sciencey pieces, or even social studies vocabulary word that you want to review with your students. It's a very easy way for you to quickly and efficiently embed that into one of the games that I'm going to be sharing with you. Maybe math. I just put math because math has so many great ways to be able to incorporate games. Whenever you're trying to solve any form of a problem, I think is one of the best ways. You give a kid a whiteboard and a dry erase marker, and you give them a game with a timer, and it just heightens the entire experience for them. So math is just a great area to do that. Comprehension questions. Now, I know these can tend to be a little bit challenging, but one of my favorite games is, we read a book of Edward Tulane, and within that book of Edward Tulane goes to different places, he meets different people, there are different objects, and so I really wanted my students and test my students on their comprehension with all of the different objects and places and people that Edward was meeting. And so comprehension questions, you do have to get a little bit creative, but it is possible. You can make that happen and really kind of give them a very defined answer. Now, a lot of these tend to be very direct questions, like you can find the answer within the text. If you tend to go more open-ended, that starts to get a little bit challenging in reading, but it still is a possibility. Grammar is another great one. Having students identifying the types of sentences, or going into whether if it's a declarative sentence or if it's an independent clause or a dependent clause, all of these pieces can easily be incorporated into games. Figurative language. I loved using figurative language inside of my games. And again, it's a very simple way to be able to review some of that figurative language and help students be able to identify what type of figurative language it is, or maybe even what the meaning of it is. Problem solving is another one, and this kind of goes alongside with math, but this is a really important skill that we have to embed. And so anytime that you want to review after you've taught the conceptual piece of math, and then have students then start to take it in, apply that idea of, how to solve this problem and to put it into more of a problem solving, and getting them to do this collaboratively is really, really beneficial, because students are hearing what other students are doing, and that's going to help them along that process. Parts of speech, that kind of goes alongside of that grammar piece, but looking specifically at like, oh, is this a noun, an adverb, a verb? Is it an adjective? So having students practice with that as much as possible is really nice. And again, these games are going to be so simple for you to quickly embed some of these pieces. Academic vocabulary. So I'm an ELA teacher. I love literacy. That is kind of my home turf. And so academic vocabulary, we would talk about like, is this an exposition? Is this what is plot? what is internal conflict, external conflict, all of these vocabulary terms like that are academic in nature that we really need students to be able to understand, so that the way they're utilizing it inside of their written responses is going to be really critical. So giving them some of that practice with that as well. Then we have just usage in general. And this really kind of goes along the lines of like, are you utilizing, your sentences correctly, or how are you going to kind of manipulate the syntax of some of these words or the vocabulary terms? We also have process that we can look at. So is there a certain process that you need your students to be able to remember, whether it's the water cycle process or the process for being able to solve a particular problem? Like that type of a process is something that you can also challenge students with. And then affixes is another one that I threw in there, but that is one of the biggest kind of components that we've been hearing in education a lot recently, is getting students to understand prefixes, suffixes, Greek and Latin roots. And so all of these can be embedded in making sure that students really understand the meaning behind them. So that way it helps them with their vocabulary as well. Okay, so now we're going to start jumping into the game. So I have the first game is called Connect a Few plus one. So I did Connect a Few plus one because Connect 4 is already taken, but you get my drift here. So Connect a Few plus one. And so I want to talk you through a little bit about the materials that you would need before I show you a quick video of my son playing this Connect a Few plus one game. So the materials for this is that we ended up using my Viewboard Whiteboard, and then you would have a set of questions on cards for each group. Okay, so my Viewboard Whiteboard, a set of questions, and you can determine how many questions. You can use index cards, you can type them up and then just kind of cut them out. Whatever you want to do is best for you. Typically, I would do about 10 to 15 questions, and then I would just save them. And then every year I would just pull them out, and that's what I would end up using. And then I would suggest some form of whiteboards and dry erase markers. If you don't have whiteboards, you can just use laminated colored sheets of paper, or you can use your like page protector sleeves are another great option. So the idea is you just want something for students to be able to write on, so that they have a way to be able to kind of dump their ideas down before the game actually begins. So this is what the game looks like. So you can see it's Connect a Few. So I went through and I am the color green, and I would move it over. Now you're going to notice you have to start at the bottom. So you cannot skip a space, and you have to make sure that it all stacks. So every circle has to stack. But I will tell you all, like my son loved this game. I was like, wait until you have to do the academic piece with it, but he really did enjoy it. And he was asking to play it many, many times afterwards. So that's what the game looks like. Let's talk about how do we build this in, because we understand the idea of the game, right? You want to connect a few plus one, which is kind of 4. And then from there, whoever connects the 4 wins, right? And you can change that. You can do Connect 5, you can do Connect 6, you can make the game whatever you want it to be. So the idea is just that they have to connect forever, whatever their color for their team is. So to play this game, what you do is you're going to place your students into groups, and then you're going to give them that deck of cards that has pre-written questions on them, okay? And you're going to tell your students, leave them face down and stack together, put it in the center of your group. Do not touch it until I tell you go, okay? I always have to remind students that. And then when you tell your students to go, the key here is, and this is the fun part, is that they have to answer it as quickly as possible. So they're trying to get through the questions as fast as possible, but they can only do one question at a time. So they will flip over a question. Everybody in the group works to find the answer. When they find the answer, I have them raise their hands, or they hit a buzzer if you have some form of a buzzer in your classroom. So they can raise their hands for you to come to check. If they get the answer correct, one student will go up to the board and they will take their team color and they will move their dot. And then they will rush back and they flip the next card and it starts all over again. So they're trying to get through them as quickly as possible, because the faster they get through it and their answers are correct, the faster and they will to get 4 in a row. And so everybody's kind of competing with one another to be able to do this as quickly as possible. And it is a really, really fun game. So let's talk about how we create this. So the first step is to open up your canvas and you're going to set a background. So in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to click on that little background icon and you're going to set a color for your background piece. I like gray. I feel like it's a nice neutral color. It's not too bright. It's not going to kind of compete with anything else. And so that's typically the color form that I end up using. From there, you're going to create a table and you're going to adjust the sizing of this table. So I love that the My Viewboard Whiteboard has a table feature. So if you click on your main toolbar, you can click on the shape icon. And in that shape icon, there's a table option on the bottom of it. So there's like a pop-up window. And so when you click on that, you can choose however many you want for your table. Again, you can make it as big as you want to make it. So depending on your class size, you might need something a little bit bigger. I typically have about 18 to 25 students in my class. So I do run kind of smaller in my class sizes. And then you just want to adjust it just by kind of clicking around the lines and just adjusting it to make it the size and width that you want. From there, I use my selection tool. So that's kind of your little arrow piece that allows you to click on everything. You're going to select on that table and then a little pop-up window is going to come up. And that's going to allow you to add a fill to it. So you can add a fill to the back and I just make it white to make it pretty simple. That way the colors really, really pop out when the kids start adding some of those circles. The next step from there is to add the rectangles to serve as the legs of the board. Okay, we're not going to mention what we're talking about here, but everybody kind of has an idea. So again, I'm just going to use on the main toolbar, I'm going to click on the shape tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle on the side. And then I'm going to add the fill. I'm going to change the outline. And what's interesting is what you have to remember is that you have to use the selection tool to select that rectangle to make sure to change it if you didn't already adjust your fill and color before you drew it. I never remember to do that. But to make sure that they're the same size, you can then just use that selection tool, select that rectangle, and then just copy and paste it. So the copy button is going to be on your little pop-out window that comes up. And then the paste, you have to go to that floating toolbar, which you're going to see is kind of gray on my screen on the bottom left-hand side. That's where mine is typically located, but you can move that floating toolbar wherever you want to move it. And that's going to be where your paste feature is. Okay, so once you have that, lock that board in place. That is very important, or else your kids are going to mess it up. So for this, you're going to use that selection tool and you're going to click on each piece. So you're going to click on the legs, click on the table, and then that pop-up window is going to come up and you're going to notice that I click on a lock feature, and that lock icon is what's going to make sure that you don't move anything on the board. So repeat this for all of those different components there. And then you're going to add some circles for your group. So however many groups you have, that's how many circles you're going to end up needing. Okay. So I'm going to draw a circle first using that shape toolbar at the bottom. And so once I do that, I can change the color, change the fill, and I'm going to copy and paste it for however many groups you need. So if you need 5 groups or 5 different circle colors, do 5 circles, change the colors for all of them once you do that. Okay, so you can see here, I have a green group, I have a pink group, I have a purple group. And so I'm going to just keep copying and pasting them to have enough for each one. And then what you have to do is, I actually think I forgot to mention this here, is that once you have your circles done, you will need to make sure that you have the drag and copy feature on. So to do that, you're going to hit that selection using the selection icon on the main toolbar. You're going to click on the circle and the pop-up window is going to come up. And then there is a drag to copy, which is going to have like a little plus sign on like a little paper. And so that's going to pop up and that's going to allow you to be able to just click and create as many copies as you want. My recommendation is to do all of your colors first and then go back and make sure you hit that feature for the drag to copy for your students. So once you do that, you can add a title. So you can go to the text, you can type in whatever title you want. So Connect a Few +1, Connect 5, Connect 6, whatever you want it to be. I changed my font to the Rameto font 1. I probably butchered that, but you guys get the whole point. And then I just kind of made it as big as I wanted to make it. And then of course you can also lock this into place so none of the students mess this up. So now we have all of the key pieces locked and all of the circles are drag to copy ready to go. So now I can make as many copies of yellow just by dragging one of those yellow circles over because it's kind of an easy piece here. So I'm going to show it to you again. So here you can see the circles never move. That drag to copy feature just allows you to click on it and just move that circle over, which is a really fun way for you, an easy way for you to kind of get your kids engaged with this game. And what I love about it is that then I can go through and delete the circles that are inside of the table and I'm ready to play all over again. It's not like I have to stack the circles on top of one another because that drag to copy will just make an infinite amount of them. So as many times as I kind of pull it over. Okay, so that's game 1. Game 2 is a slip and slide board game. And so for the materials on this one, you're going to need the Viewboard Whiteboard game. And so I'm going to show you how to access that. You are going to do an inflatable dice or a whiteboard software. That like they have a dice feature, which I will show you too. And then they also have I would have some whiteboards and dry erase markers as well for students to be able to play the activity. So in this one, you can see I actually ended up doing a spinner. So I did a spinner with my son. We had a little icon. You can see him moving things over and then I would spin and then we would kind of continuously move some of these pieces over. So how would I play this with a classroom of students? Well, you're going to place your kids into roughly about 3 to 4 groups. If you wanted to just do like half on one side, half on the other, you absolutely could choose to do that. That way you only have like 2 icons that you're moving over. But it's really just kind of your preference on how you want to build that in. So once you have your class into their groups, students are going to either roll a die. Now, I had a really large inflatable die that I would have my students roll. I like that feature on there, and you can use the dice feature on my Viewboard Whiteboard, but this is just fun because the kids would throw it up in the air and they just thought that was a hoot. So it just added another element to the novelty of the game. And so, or you can create a spinner on there as well. And then the team will throw the die or roll the die on the Viewboard. And then they're going to move that many places. Now, the key here is that everybody solves what's on that space. And so that entire board that you saw, while I didn't have it all completely filled, it's supposed to be totally filled up, okay, with whatever questions you want to have on there. And you can do like a mixed review of different concepts all on that one game. And so everyone in the classroom will put their whiteboards, get their whiteboards out, and they would all solve it at the exact same time. So all teams work together. Now, if the team who rolled gets it correct, they get to keep that spot. But if they are incorrect, you can have other teams basically try to steal the number that they rolled. So if a team rolls 2 and they get it wrong, but my team is like still 1 or 2 ahead, they can still try to steal that roll and then roll again. And so that kind of brings in that more competitive piece, and it just allows everybody to kind of try and solve the problem together, because that was one of the biggest pieces, is that with games, you never want students not doing something. You want them all to be participating, and this is just kind of a little workaround for getting everybody to participate. And so if they're wrong, they're going to go back, and then you're going to allow people to be able to steal. The person who gets to the very end of the board first is going to be our winner. So how do we make this? Well, in the My Viewboard Whiteboard, inside of that canvas, you can open up the main toolbar and you're going to choose that little Chrome icon. And in that Chrome icon, ViewSonic has a lot of originals. And what I like is that they have some of these board game features. So I went into the backgrounds and then I was able to locate this and then just kind of put it on to my canvas. And that's what I ended up doing. So I didn't make any of this, which is fantastic. So they do have a few different like board game templates that you can utilize inside of your classroom and choose one that works best for you. I like this one just because it was really, really full, but they have some where it doesn't have as many spots, so it's not going to take you as long. And then what you want to do is you need to add your text, and these are going to be the questions. Now, these are all on the board itself. So you are going to go to the text icon on the main toolbar, and then you are going to just start typing questions in. You can adjust the size, the font, copy and paste it, and just fill your entire board in with all the questions that you want students to be able to review. I do apologize. I got a little lazy with this and I didn't want to finish it. So please excuse me there. So here you can see I did add a few in there, and I tried to add a variety so that you could see what it looks like, but I did like a math problem, I did a figurative language problem, and so there are some different options here that you can look at. So using that selection tool, you want to lock everything in place. Again, that's important because you don't want students messing up your boards. So go to every single text, and using that selection tool, you're going to click on the text, and then a little pop-up window is going to come up and you're going to hit that lock. And so that's going to lock it so that it doesn't move around and you don't have to worry about things kind of shifting, because that's always a fear of mine, is that I'm going to spend all this time putting in the work and then my boards are going to be ruined by the end of class. So repeat this for all of your text boxes. And then you're going to add some puns. So again, you're going to go to that Chrome icon, which is in your main toolbar at the very bottom, and you're going to hit the ViewSonic Originals. Now from there, you can choose graphics. And for the graphics, I would just pick whatever you wanted. So my son was kind of helping me choose some of these, and he really wanted the sharp pointing thing. Boys, I can't. So I just picked a few of them, and then I would resize them and then move them over to the start area. So that way each group can choose what they want for their pun or their icon. So again, here's kind of how it worked. If you don't have a big die or you want to create like that spinner, you can just create a circle, add an arrow, some lines, some arrows in there. And so what's really nice is in order for that spin feature to work, all you have to do is have the selection tool, and there's like a little spin icon that allows it to spin for you. So again, there's so many different ways, but it's a really engaging and exciting way for students to be able to review something. And this would be really, really great in small group as well. Okay, I'm going to take a quick drink before I share with you my last game. We're going to do another poll. So which tools would you like to learn more about? So poll number 3. So let me know, which tools would you like to learn more about? Okay, so let's talk about Unwheel of Fortune. I love Wheel of Fortune. It's one of my favorite games. But this is Unwheel of Fortune because there's no wheel in this one. So for the materials on this one, again, I'm using the My Viewboard Whiteboard game setup piece that I'm going to show you how to make. I did create a set of questions, and you can do this like on just chart paper that you flip over. You can have them on those large sticky notes, but you want it big enough for it to be able to display to the entire class. Now, My Viewboard Whiteboard also has a feature to utilize flashcards. If you wanted to do flashcards features, you can also incorporate that into your classroom, and it's super simple. And then of course, whiteboards, dry erase marker for everybody to be able to solve their problems and collaborate. So here's what it looks like in action. So it's the Unwheel of Fortune. So my son was like, he didn't quite understand it, but he had to guess different letters. And I would kind of show him where it ended up being. Bonus points. If you guys can figure out what this is, like put it into the chat. It's song lyric. What is it? So I'm going to move on. Let me know if you can figure out what the song lyric is. So how do we play the Unwheel of Fortune? So you're going to have a phrase for your students. Good job, guys. You are so good. You are so good. Okay. So how do we play this? You are going to have a phrase for students to be able to solve and make it something that's really interesting for them. You Are My Sunshine is something that I sing to my son at night. And so this was kind of my way of thinking of that. But of course, make it specific to topics that they know. And it can even be about something that they're learning. So if it could be related to a science concept or a mathematic concept, whatever it might be, but that's the phrase you want them to be able to guess. And then you're going to place your students in 3 to 4 groups, okay? You're going to display the question to everyone in the class at the same time. So all members are working to solve that problem. And so everybody's working in their groups. Give each team who gets the question correct 1 point, okay? So if they are correct, you're going to give them 1 point, and then you're going to allow them to comment or to ask a letter, to basically select a letter, choose one of the letters to display on the board. And so if the letter that they choose is one that's in the phrase that you've selected, so like E, there were 2 E's, you're going to give them additional 2 points. So they got 1 point for getting the question correct. And then they got 2 additional points because they guessed the letter E and there were 2 E's in the phrase. So now they've gotten a total of 3 points. Now, if they don't get the question correct, they don't get any points at all and they don't get to guess anything. So what's really fun is that everybody's point values are going to be all over the place. And it's just really, really fun. And I like the guessing of the phrase in there because it also gets to think about vowels and being able to understand like how words are built and just really starting to kind of think through all of those other components of just how words are kind of structured. So it builds in some of those key skills there. So you give them those points. Groups can then choose to guess the entire phrase. So let's say my group, we got the question correct. And instead of guessing a letter, we say we want to guess the phrase. If I guess the phrase correct, you can give a bigger point value. Like if they guess the phrase correct, they get 10 to 15 points to hopefully help them like gain more points by the very end, especially if they're a little bit behind. But they have this ability to kind of to get into the lead very easy. Now, if they don't, it's up to you if you want to take points away or just kind of allow them to stay where they are and you just kind of keep going with the game. What's nice is, again, you can make up the rules to this because it's your game that you're doing with your students. So how do we make this? Again, you're going to open up the canvas and you're going to set a background. Now, I really, really loved this feature because they have a gradient. So you can see that there are some little white rectangles and some have like the gray shades. I chose a gradient and I was able to move the little icons over. You can see how I'm moving them over to the colors that I want to select because there's 2 of them to choose my preference. So I did like a purple and a blue because those are kind of my favorites. So once you do that, you're then going to add a table and then you're going to adjust it and lock it. So in the main toolbar, you're going to select that shape icon. And then in the pop-up window, you're going to click on the table and then you're going to select the biggest amount possible. Okay, so I selected all of that I could for my table piece. And then once I did that, I adjusted my boxes, how I wanted to adjust my boxes just by clicking and dragging where I wanted to click and drag. And then I went on ahead and I added a fill. So you're going to hit your selection tool on the main toolbar. You're going to click on your table and you're going to add the fill. And I did a white background. Okay. Then don't forget, lock it in place. So with your selection tool, click on the table, hit the lock button. So that way it doesn't move and it doesn't mess up and you don't have to stress about it. All right. Lots in this step, but I promise you, the more you practice and do it, the easier it's going to get for you. The next part is then to create your like rectangle square. I don't think mine's technically a square, but so that's why I said rectangle square. And you're going to shade it green. So you can see that when I went to go and create my shape, I kind of went over just a little bit to see how big it would be. And then I moved it down. And so I changed my fill color to the green, and then I changed my outline to the green. And using the drag to copy feature, which again, using the selection tool, you're going to click on it and then a pop-up window is going to come up and you're going to hit that drag to copy feature. Now I can just drag to copy those boxes wherever I need them. So I have my phrase where I have my phrase in my head, and now I just have to fill it all in. So now I'm going to add the rectangle for at the very bottom for my category. So I created a shape, filled it in. I did this one blue, and then I added a text box over it. And then I'm just going to type in whatever category I want. So for this one, I ended up doing song lyrics for it. Again, make sure you lock it in place. So that way, again, students don't have to mess with it. Now, when you're ready to change it, you will have to unlock it so that you can use that text feature and retype it and change that for you. And then you're going to add a title. So same thing. You're going to use the text feature. You're going to write whatever you want for your title. And then you're going to make it as big as you want here. Here I did Wheel of Fortune. I forgot my un part. So you're going to put it up there at the very, very top using that selection tool, click on it, and then you're going to hit that lock piece. So that way it doesn't end up moving. And so now once you have your phrase in your head, you're going to just drag, because we have that drag to copy feature. It's like the best thing ever on the face of the planet. And you're just going to fill in where there's not going to be any letter. So I just filled all of those pieces in where I know I'm not going to have a letter for my students to be able to guess. And so that way it ends up looking just like this, where they're only guessing those white pieces. And again, you can kind of move some of those green boxes. You can delete them and then remove it with that drag to copy feature, whatever is best for you. But once it's set up, you can reuse it over and over and over again. Okay, so before we move into tips to success, we have one more poll for you. Okay, so how do you plan to use my viewboard in your classroom? We would love to know. How do you plan to use it? So here's some tips for success. The first one is going to be to duplicate the original slide. Guys, best tip ever. Please do not use your original slide. All you have to do is on your floating toolbar, if you click on the slide where it shows the number of slides you have, you click on that, and then just duplicate it. There's a little icon at the very top. If you click it, it's going to automatically duplicate it. And then that way you have it protected and you don't have to worry about, moving things or deleting things. It's there and you don't have to stress about it afterwards. Okay. So please do that. Another one is to teach team building, which is really, really important. You want to teach kids how to agree, how to disagree, how to involve peers when they're not collaborating in the process. So if they notice the peer isn't saying much, they might say, hey, John, what do you think the answer might be? Or John, what answer did you get? I want to see if I got the same thing as you. Teach them how to do that. Give them the language, the sentence stems ahead of time, and have those posted inside of your classroom. Teach them how to listen to one another, how to ask for input, and then just how to be respectful to one another during this process. Because again, tensions can get high, especially when you're involving some form of a collaboration, like competitive spirit children. They get really passionate about it. And then finally, save it as a template into your Google Drive, guys. This is one of the features that I love, is that I have the ability to just save it into my Google Drive. It has a folder for my Viewboard Whiteboard. It saves it for me. And so I never have to worry about, losing the file. Once it's done, I use it every single year after that. Okay. So that is it. That is game over for me. I'm going to go ahead and just say, I would love for you guys to connect with me. I hope that you really enjoyed this. And I'm going to turn it over to Reuben because he is going to share a little bit more about our giveaways.
Excellent. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Excellent. Thank you, Bridget, so much for that powerful and wonderful webinar. And what better way to start off our August with some games, especially when it comes to review. So thank you. So please, folks, again, there is still a little bit of time left if you want to leave some comments into the community platform. Again, I'll quickly, I'm going to get the wheel up open very soon. If you got a chance to actually leave a comment, you're in great shape. If you want to rush really quickly to do so, please do so. I'm going to be checking right now, and that's going to be our cutoff time, so that way we can start entering folks. I've been chatting with one particular participant, so I want to make sure this person is in. So I'm going to add them here as we speak. So give me one quick second. It looks like we've got a total of 6 participants. So fantastic.
And as we're waiting, if you want to share which game was your favorite, I would love to know.
Yes.
Which game was your favorite? Put it into the chat. Just kind of give us all an idea.
Excellent. I'm going to share my screen in just a second. I am stalling for anyone that's wanting to run to the community to leave a comment. Okay. So you know what I'm going to do, just for the good of the group, I'm just going to give everybody a quick little navigation. So let me just put here, share my screen. There we go. Okay. So hopefully, can everybody see my screen okay? Okay. All right, excellent. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. So this is the link that I've been sharing in the chat. So if anybody from the moderation team, if you don't mind putting in that link so that everybody has it. So this is our landing page to our community. Now it's going to give you a lot of details of what our community does. So definitely spend some time if you like afterwards to read up on it. If you were to click on the join now, it's going to navigate you to the sign up or sign in option. So give it a second. Looks like it's just toggling for a minute. Okay, so it's going to navigate you here. All right, so here's 3 options to do single sign-on, which should take a couple of seconds. So I've got my account already, but if you already have an account, you're just going to sign in, which is found in the upper right. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my sign in, which in this case, it's already saved all of my credentials. So enter your Gmail, enter your Microsoft or your Apple, whatever preference you may have. And then you're going to click on community. Excellent. Once you click on community, you've now entered our platform. Okay. And the awesome part is it's already here, the upcoming event. But what you're going to do is you're actually going to select the USA and Canada under the forum section. So if I click there, it's going to give you all the messaging for that particular region. So on the upper right-hand corner, it should say something like join now. So you're going to click on that, and that's going to enable you so that you can comment or participate within the forum. So you want to make sure to do that. So that's the button right there that oftentimes gets missed. So you want to take care of that. So you're going to click, once you've done that, you're going to click on Bridget Spackman's webinar banner. And fantastic. You're going to be led here. And these are all of our folks that have participated just now. So you're going to leave your thought here. And you're just going to enter your comment and just hit enter or publish at the very end. So I'm going to give it another 10, 15 seconds, and I'm going to shift gears in just a second because we're going to do the wheel of names. And I'm going to just spin that wheel, and 2 lucky folks are going to win an Amazon gift card. One will be worth $100, and the second one will be worth $25. So leave your comments. If you haven't done so, please do so. Refresh my page here. See, comments are coming in. So I know it's going to take a little bit of a second there to post. So I'm gearing up. More names. Fantastic, fantastic. All right. Looks like we have another comment, so fantastic. Thank you for participating. Okay. Okay, I think it's that time. Kind of gone overtime. So I'm going to go ahead and put our wheel of names. So here we go. We're going to spin that wheel. We're going to do it together. We're going to celebrate together as a community. All right, folks. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. All right, there you go. Okay. All right, everybody can see that just to make sure. Okay, drum roll. Okay, we're going to go and we're going to click and spin our first name. Here we go. Oh, so to EDT Ruiz, you are our $100 Amazon gift card winner. So congrats, congrats. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to remove you. So I'm going to do a quick little timeout here, a little bit of a timeout. I believe another comment might have just entered, so I'm going to double check to see if anyone else has entered. Because you know what? I love it when there's more folks participating. So just going to double check if there's anyone else. I don't want to leave anyone. So, okay. Now remember, you're supposed to be commenting here. So I'm going to see if anyone commented another post. Just want to add as many folks as possible. Okay. Okay. All right. Nope. Looks like that is it. We are locked. We are ready. All right, here we go. We're going to spin that wheel. This is for the $25 Amazon gift card. So here we go. Okay, Virginia, it looks like you did it. Fantastic. $25 coming your way. All right, fantastic all. So you'll be notified via email and I'll be sending that shortly. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And again, we do these fun activities for you. And at the same time, we want you to enjoy summer as much as possible. So squeeze it all out if you can. And as you transition back to school, please know that you always have the community to support you. Please share your thoughts beyond that. We'll be doing more webinars. We have our monthly check-ins as well. So we'll be doing that every month. And then just show some love, show some shout outs. We love to hear your thoughts and comments. All right, everyone, I know we went over, but thank you so much for hanging tight with us. And we look forward to the next one. Take care, everyone.